And it was because of those two iconic historical figures, Negro History Week began. And of course, decades later, we now celebrate Black History Month. And we are so excited that to kick off this Black History Month lecture series as we honor Professor Emeritus of History, Dr. Frank Tolan, a long time faculty member here at Tuskegee University. I am your moderator, Keith Hargrove, currently serving as Provost and Senior Vice President of Tuskegee University. And we welcome all of you, students, faculty, and staff to this first event representing Black History Month lecture series hosted by Tuskegee University. Our topic today is something that all of us know well and are adjusting our lifestyles and certainly in this learning environment. The impact of COVID on higher education has impacted how we learn, how we provide instruction, how universities operate, and quite frankly, each and every one of us, for our families, COVID has impacted. Certainly for the students, but also for the faculty and staff at the respective universities of our guests. So let me first share with you the format for our discussion. And it's an opportunity for our guests to share some information about their institutions, but we also want to have an opportunity for some Q&A from those that are on the call. Let me first introduce our guests. From Tuskegee University, we have President Charlotte Morris. From Grambling State University, we have President Rick Gallot. And from Alabama State University, we have President Quinton Ross. So the format we will proceed will allow each of our guests, our presidents, 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes, okay? And hopefully they will abide by that time allotment. 5 to 7 minutes to share with all of us a little bit about your background. Many of us like to know the pathway, and every road is different, the pathway to becoming a president. And of course, share pride points. I like to call them pride points about your institution that you lead. After that is, after we have heard from all three presidents, I have personally about 2 or 3 questions that I would like to ask regarding COVID-19 and higher ed with respect to your own institutions. And then after we hear from all 3 presidents, we will proceed with a Q&A from the many 155 plus people on the call, which is fantastic. And so I will have, I'm sure, some assistance as we do our very best to respond to the Q&A, to the questions that we will receive. So, and we will end with hopefully around 2:15 with final remarks from each president, about 3 minutes, and then we will close our first event. So again, I say welcome to all of you, and let's begin opening remarks with President Morris of Tuskegee University.
Thank you, Dr. Hargrove, and good afternoon to all of you. I am, as he indicated, Charlotte Morris. I have the pleasure of serving as the 9th president of the Tuskegee University. I am pleased to share some remarks with you this afternoon and to share about our institution. Of course, our institution has a few names to associate with: Booker T. Washington, our founding principal, and George Washington Carver, the renowned scientist who also was a member of the faculty here. We have the Tuskegee Airmen who studied here. So those are kind of some unique names to think about when you talk about Tuskegee University. We are small. We have 27, a little over 2,700 students, but we are an institution that's very diverse in terms of the offerings that it has. We have, in terms of professional programs, we have the College of Veterinary Medicine, and we produce most of the African American veterinary medical professionals in the US. We also have 4 PhD programs in the STEM areas that we are very proud of. And of course, we are in the beginning stages of implementing our strategic plan for the next 5 years. And so we are proud of that fact because that's our guide that will take us into the next generation. We have 8 pillars to that strategic plan. And of course, academic excellence is the first one on the list that we will be dealing with. We also have operational efficiency. We have student experiences. We have research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, world-class faculty, advances in infrastructure and resources, athletics, and community and strategic partnerships. And those will be the guiding forces as we move into the next 5 years with our strategic plan and with our programs and services that we offer to our students. Regarding, do you want me to go on into how we dealt with COVID or at this point? Or?
No, we'll leave that to questions. So thank you, Dr. Morris.
Okay, then I will end by saying that I am a product of an HBCU, unfortunately not Tuskegee University, but Jackson State University, as I am a native Mississippian. I have spent the past 35 years of my career here at the university in various administrative and faculty roles. And I was pulled from retirement after 2 years to come back to Tuskegee as the 9th president.
Thank you so much. President Gallot.
Well, good afternoon, Rick Gallot, coming to you from the place where everybody is somebody, Grambling State University. And as I was saying before we officially started, if not for Tuskegee, there would be no Grambling. A group of African-American farmers in North Central Louisiana wrote to Booker T. Washington at Tuskegee, indicating that they wanted to start a school and asked him to send someone to start a school. And that someone was Charles Phillip Adams, who is our founder. So in 1901, we began here in Grambling, and 120 years later, we are still pursuing academic excellence and improving the lives of not just African Americans, but of everyone by the programs that we offer. We're really excited about a lot of our programs that we have. We were fortunate to launch what is Louisiana's first and only bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. We also have Louisiana's first and only bachelor's degree in cloud computing. And as we have continued to lean in and invest significantly into our IT infrastructure, we are also about 30 days away from cutting the ribbon on what will be Louisiana's first and a first for HBCUs with our digital library. And so as we looked at the state of our old library that was built back in 1962 and all the many challenges that building presented, we spoke with a library consultant to find out what is not the library of the past, but what does the library of the future look like? And that building it's so amazingly beautiful to look at, but it is also a tool that our students will be able to utilize and really do the type of research that will be second to none. And so we're very grateful to be able to have such technology. And as we get into the Q&A, I can talk more specifically about how technology has provided us with the opportunity to pivot and adjust during this COVID period. About me, just a little bit. I was born and reared here in the Grambling community. Attended nursery school through college on this very campus, and so my mother was the head of the history department here at Grambling, and so I've had the fortunate opportunity to hear and know so much about Carter G. Woodson, because Mom's office was in Woodson Hall here on Grambling's campus, and to really be able to see, and I feel very fortunate to know that not only are we an HBCU, but in a community that's surrounded by excellence in African American community. So it was not uncommon that the provost lived across the street from me growing up. The business dean lived just down the street, and so again, I feel very fortunate. And I thought everybody had Black PhDs all over their community. It wasn't until I got older that I realized we were different, unique, and special. And so I definitely am very grateful. This was not on my 5-year to-do list. I practiced law for over 25 years, served in the legislature, as did President Ross, who served in the Senate there in Alabama. I served in the House and Senate here in Louisiana. And so, I have grown to really appreciate Proverbs 19:21, many of the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And so as much as I thought my legal career would take me in a very different direction, I believe I am right where he wants me to be. And that's to be a part of, again, enriching the lives of our students, meeting them where they are, providing them an environment where they are celebrated and not tolerated. So again, I appreciate Tuskegee for making it possible for Grambling to exist, and look forward to the dialogue here today. Thank you.
Fantastic. President Ross, Alabama State University.
Well, listen, thank you so much, and greetings to everyone. Provost Hargrove, thank you for this opportunity. I want to say to my learned colleagues, it's so great to see you as always. I extend to you greetings on behalf of the Alabama State University here in Montgomery, Alabama. I often tell people that serving as president of this institution is not a job, it's a way of life for me. Having graduated from Alabama State University, both my parents graduating from Alabama State University, and a host of relatives, this is truly a way of life for me. Interesting story with Tuskegee. My father is from Opelika, Alabama, and my grandfather was a cook at the Tuskegee University. And so we all have connections and are connected in so many different ways. But Alabama State University, founded in Marion, Alabama, by 9 freed slaves with $500, has grown to a global institution. I call it the epicenter of the modern day civil rights movement. When you think about Ms. Rosa Parks, she went to Lab High School right here on this campus. If you fly into Birmingham, you fly into the Fred Shuttlesworth International Airport. When you talk about Ralph David Abernathy, which our education building, he was a student here on this campus. When you talk about the individual that called Dr. King to Selma, you talk about that individual that was there, F.D. Reese, who was there and asked Dr. King to come to Selma after the death of Jimmy Lee. And so we are the epicenter of the civil rights movement. Within around 40 pieces of property around us are all historic in nature. And so we just ask that you come and visit us here at Montgomery. We also, probably one of the few campuses, or the only campuses that have a interpretive center located on its campus to tell the story about the Selma to Montgomery March. With 9 colleges on this campus that range with our our cornerstone, which is education, all the way to our STEM college. We have doctoral programs ranging from prosthetics and orthotics to that of physical therapy and the doctorate in education. We're truly proud of over 154 years, going on 155 years of our history here in Montgomery, but throughout the world, and we have graduates all over. Dr. Morris, I want to congratulate you on staking out your strategic plan. We've just completed ours, our Focus 2030, which has 7 anchors. And of course, the number one anchor is academic excellence. And so we continue to strive to be that doctoral and research institution to advance our Carnegie classification here at Alabama State University. And just simply, I gave you a breakdown of me being a student here, but I often tell people I started out here at Alabama State University as a freshman class senator, President Gallot, and I went on to become one of 7 African-American state senators in the state of Alabama. So I started in the SGA right here. And then, I was SGA president on this campus, and truly to have the ability and opportunity and be blessed to come back and serve as its 15th president, as you said, only God could have it as so. And so we truly are all in these positions at this time and at this moment because it has been ordained by God. And as it says in Jeremiah, for I know the plans I have for you. Even if the plans that we think we have, God truly, he directs our path. And so my trajectory has been that of a K through 12 educator, working at a 2-year college. And I too thought that I was on my way toward retirement. I tell people all the time I can turn in my pen today, but God had a different plan. And so I truly am thankful for the opportunity to serve such a great student body of faculty and staff here at Alabama State University. And of course, being in the HBCU world, there's nothing like it. People just don't understand, but hopefully by and by, they will see the fruits of our labor. Thank you.
Fantastic. It is evidently clear that we have 3 of the nation's premier leaders in higher ed, and fortunate enough for them to lead institutions that we recognize as HBCUs. Certainly, also as a HBCU alum, I reflect on that as well, President Ross, and just really want to thank each of you for finding the time to participate in this event. We have a lot of students on the call as well as faculty and staff, but I would also have to acknowledge that they are members of the Board of Trustees for Tuskegee University, and I also want to extend greetings to them as well. Allow me to begin with our very first question, and we'll proceed as the introductions as well. So the first question is, how has your institution adopted and transitioned with regard to instruction or learning since March of 2020? And how has that transition emerged to today? So let's begin with President Morris.
Okay, I think we all was kind of looking around to see if we could find something to read that had the best practices in it, because that's what we all look for when we think about a crisis that we are having. But unfortunately, there was not such available for us this time. This was new to all of us. So we kind of had to depend on each other. We called each other, what are you doing? How are you handling this? And that, when you're in a crisis, you do rely on your strength as a leader, but also the strengths of others that are in the same environment that you're in, because that's how we learn and how we move forward. So we know that there was nothing out there for us to rely on that had those best practices. So we had to create those best practices for ourselves. And what we found was that communications was the key factor in that. And of course, communications is the best thing in all types of relationships, and this is no different. So we had to obviously communicate with all of our constituencies, and throughout the process, not just what we were doing at the beginning, but throughout the entire process. And of course, technology plays a big role in that. Now, one of the lessons that we learned at Tuskegee is that we weren't quite prepared for online learning and in from the technology perspective. So we had to revamp our infrastructure in technology, and we had to do some training because some of our faculty who are like me were not well versed in the technology arena. So we had to obviously do training in that perspective. But fortunately for Tuskegee, we had a person who was trained in public health and in the legal profession who was able to come forward in a leadership role and help us to execute through these things and lead the executive team. So our executive team met, worked together, developed some protocols, posted them, and then moved the process forward. But still, we know we had to move swiftly. And when you think of our institutions and those of us who report to board members and all, when you think of moving swiftly, you think of going through this level and the next level and the next level. But we didn't have that opportunity this time. We had to move. And that's what most of us did, but making sure that it was in an orderly manner and making sure that our core values stayed in place, because we had to have respect, we had to have trust of our constituencies, we had to have transparency, we had to have integrity, we had to have accountability, of course, and of course we had to be innovative in what we were doing. And so that in itself helped us to change our technology to go with the process that we set forward for our students and for the individuals that we were working with. And of course, we know that our students, those persons who are in our who have been entrusted to us by their parents, had to be our first priority. And so we move forward from that point.
Thank you so much. President Gallo.
All right, so from a technology standpoint, we were incredibly prepared. One of the things that that we did very early on was to invest heavily in our IT and primarily leveraging and utilizing our Title III federal dollars. We have really been able to build what is an incredibly robust IT infrastructure. So from the standpoint of being able to deliver instruction from a technology standpoint, we certainly had no challenge. Devices. And of course, there were so many different agencies and individuals who stepped up to provide devices that we were able to give to our students. We also found that some of our faculty members needed devices as well as hotspots, and lived in some of the rural areas. So there I don't know if I was the only one who heard that. So there were those challenges that we were confronted with, but obviously we're in a good position to be able to pivot forward. one of the other things that I found in 2016 when I became president is that unfortunately, our registration process still looked a bit like it did in the 80s when I was a student. And registration was viewed as a destination, not as a process. So we began transforming and modernizing our registration process such that when we were in fall of 20 and everyone was virtual, we were all 100% online. There was no impediment to being able to register our students. So whether they were physically here on campus, and we had almost 2,000 students who were on campus, but we also had students who were, literally from coast to coast, from California to New York. There was no need for anyone to show up to the campus to register. They were able to do it all online. So again, I can't say enough about our IT team and just everyone really understanding the importance of modernizing processes and not having no idea that we'd be in the middle of a pandemic in a very short period of time. The other thing I'll say is that when the first case was diagnosed in Louisiana, I was in Baton Rouge at our system office, and all 9 presidents were there that are part of the University of Louisiana system. And so we all went back to our respective campuses knowing that we were faced with a challenge that none of us had been faced with before, as President Morris talked about. I thought about my time in the legislature, and I served in the House during Hurricane Katrina. And the one thing you never want to do is to be the small town mayor that fails to evacuate his town when a hurricane is on its way. And so we brought that mindset to the fact, what is it that we know to do in our respective areas that will help us to address this challenge. So Sodexo Magic, which is our food service partner, they had a pandemic plan, so they were able to do that. Again, our technology was great. We brought in our School of Nursing dean and everyone else, and collectively, we developed a plan relatively quickly. And although of course you always experience some hiccups and things along the way, I would have to say, we did a really good job of pivoting. And again, I think if there's one thing I have to say that is was most important in that ability to pivot, it was having the technology already in place.
Thank you, sir. President Ross, Alabama State University.
Well, listen, just like my colleagues, one of the most difficult things that I had to do as president was to send my students home at such a short notice. That was one of the most difficult of my presidency. And our technology really, I'm a year behind President Gallot because that's what I was working on, right? Working on getting the technology together. That's a part of my plan moving. And so while we were moving in that direction to give us some more robust technological access, we just didn't get there quick enough. But COVID drove us there very quickly. And so like everyone else, we had to find a way to make sure that, first of all, we could continue our academic semester. And so quickly we had to transition from in-person meeting to online meeting, which caused a challenge for so many of our students who are in-person learners. They need to be up close and personal, as well as our faculty and staff, which, some had been trained, some hadn't even wanted to turn on the computer. And we understand all of that. But I think what we had to do was see where we were in the moment. And I told our faculty and staff at the very beginning that we can do 2 things in this pandemic. We can either sink or we can swim. I can say that this faculty, this staff, my technology core students, we determined that we were going to swim and keep swimming because we were able to pivot like President Gallot extremely quickly. We were able to, through our academic affairs, roll out a online plan that was going to help not only the teachers, the professors and the staff, but also the students. And of course, we had to implement quickly training as well. And then we brought into play that was very successful here on campus, all of those platforms out there that we were using. Some were using Zoom, some were using Google Meet. But listen, we did not skip a beat. And like President Gallo, our being able to register online, all of that served a great purpose. So technology was key, and everyone had to embrace where we were going. That was the main thing. We met as a leadership team, and like President Gallo, I remember the first case that was announced in Alabama. We had called in individuals from the healthcare sector. I held leadership meetings every Tuesday, but after the COVID hit, we were meeting weekly. But I can remember the very day that we were sitting in my conference room, and the young lady who worked for a federal agency who was monitoring cases. We had not announced a case in Alabama. And what she would tell us, she was looking at an iPad in real time, and she was saying, we were thinking, well, it hadn't gotten here yet. We were getting, little stories that, hey, it's coming, but it hadn't gotten here yet. Well, she said, well, it's not that it's not here. It's that the state of Alabama just hadn't reported. And the day after we decided that we were going to send the students home, we had our first case reporting in Alabama, and then it just shot out from there. So meeting with that leadership team and not functioning in a silo, everyone having a seat at the table to determine how we move forward. It bode well for us here at Alabama State University, and the technology was key. Even with student orientation, we do student orientation online. I tell them we probably won't ever go back to just having people come in person all the time, because it helps financially with our students who are looking to come to the campus to see it up and close and personal before they even get here. We hold our Faculty and Staff Institute with some 500 to 600 people on a call, on a Zoom call, right? So out of it, and I told the faculty and staff this, that out of this pandemic will come innovation and invention. And what we have shown as institutions is that, listen, we know how to be extremely innovative and creative. I was on a call at Yale at a leadership summit last week and had the opportunity to tell the founder, Eric Yan of Zoom, how we were able to adapt the Zoom platform to this campus. So technology has played a major role, but it also has pushed us to become technologically relevant as institutions as we move forward. And that helps us all compete in this global society. So, when you look at the bad of the pandemic, we always have to go back and look at the good that has come out of it. And so we have been truly blessed. And if you ever get an opportunity, we did a documentary called The Pivot that's out there on YouTube. And we documented from the beginning to where we are now in terms of how we approach the pandemic and how we've successfully been navigating it thus far.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. With regard to business and industry, companies are very aware with disruption. Disruption is a fact of life in the business world. When your customers decide to buy different things, your supplier may have an impact on the supply chain. And then in a business environment, that disruption leads to you doing things differently. Higher education is probably a little different, and in some ways may respond not as quickly. But as was said, the disruption of COVID-19 has forced us in higher ed to be more responsive and to be innovative with regard to learning anywhere, anyhow, and in any place. So the second question I pose to the president is, currently, how do you describe your current COVID protocol at your university for students and faculty and staff in order to contain the virus amongst your community? And has that been effective, and strategies to do even better? President Morris?
Okay, thank you for that question. At Tuskegee, I have to compliment our faculty staff and especially the administrative team for working together to make certain that we are on top of all of these things, because it takes all of us to work together to accomplish the goals that we have set so that our students can continue to study and learn. And so for what's going on currently, since Alabama is still completely red, we have done some things that we had not planned to do this semester, but we recently decided that our students will, the beginning of the semester, we decided that our students would do virtual learning. But then as we talked about it and talked about what President Ross mentioned earlier, that, you know, our students learn better in that face-to-face environment. And at some point, you know, COVID may be here for a long time. We've just about established that. But at some point, we are going to have to move our business forward and take care of business. And so that's what we decided to do. So our team decided that we would bring our students back to campus and back to a hybrid environment where they could choose whether to go to the class face-to-face or to take it virtually. And that has worked well for us so far. Now, we still have our mask protocols, and we have what Attorney James will call, we have an app that we have to complete every morning to tell the person at the gate that, yes, we have the green, we're green this morning, so that we can get in the gate. But that's one of the things that we have established. And also we have issued a mandate for our faculty to take the vaccines. We couldn't do that for students, and those of you who are in Alabama know why, but we can do it for our faculty since they work for us, and we have more than 100 individuals on our campus, and that's a federal protocol. So we do require our faculty to have the vaccines, and those who opt out for religious or other reasons, we ask them to test in every week so that we will have some sense of what we have on our campus. And we do a dashboard every week, and we look at that dashboard to see where we are in terms of where the state is and where the school systems are, to make sure that we are on target and that we are keeping up with what's going on. So that's kind of what we have. Masks, as I said, are required, and we are not letting visitors on our campus at the moment.
Thank you. Let's see if the great state of Louisiana have different protocols.
Yeah, so we're a red state too, although we have a blue governor. So we've got kind of a mixed bag here. We're a part of the University of Louisiana system, and there are 9 institutions, Grambling being the only HBCU. So, you know, we've been given a level of autonomy and independence to make decisions at a campus level that I think have certainly been helpful. So there's been guidance, which has been good, But our system president, Dr. Jim Henderson, and the board members have really been supportive of the individual needs of our campuses. I can tell you that we have followed probably some of the most conservative of the mask protocols, and we have had really good support from our students, from our faculty, staff, and the community at large. So we have been incredibly blessed to not have any significant outbreaks. I mean, we have a housing area for students who do test positive, and we have had for over a year and a half now the support of the Louisiana National Guard on campus doing testing Monday through Friday. They have been administering vaccinations Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of each week. And so for those students who, and faculty and community at large who would like to get vaccinations, we have them available here on the campus. And again, testing has been available for as long as I can remember now. So it's really been a cooperative effort that I think has really made the difference. Now, as we were approaching this fall semester, there were some schools that delayed the start of the semester. Southern University was one of those schools, and although some of my Grambling folks don't like Southern very much, most of the time, there was a certain level of envy that folks wanted us to delay. But again, in coordination with with our system, we pushed through. And as Dr. Morris mentioned, this pandemic is going to be here for a while, and I think we have to manage around this challenge. Each variant has brought its own challenges. Obviously, Omicron was not as deadly as some of the previous ones, but it was more contagious. There's all these different things. Being nimble and being able to adjust for the various variants has been part of what we've done in order to be successful. But again, we pushed through, and I'm thankful that we did push through and got started. Our professors do have the flexibility if they need to go online. They all of our courses are set up in a hybrid fashion, so we've got a lot of flexibility and I can't say enough about our provost, Dr. Connie Walton, who has just been incredible in terms of her preparation and really having the faculty ready to address this pandemic head on. Our student leaders have been incredibly engaged and supportive. Just everyone across the campus has really helped us to be able to say we've been successful thus far, but we're certainly not being complacent. We're still requiring masks to be worn in our buildings. Again, so right now we're just very, very fortunate that we've been able to navigate it pretty well. And I see one of our longtime Grambling supporters, Ewan Collier, who is a retired lieutenant colonel, and he's a Tuskegee graduate. I see Colonel Collier's on here, so sorry, I needed to give a shout out to Colonel Collier.
President Ross?
Well, yes, listen, and I think both of my colleagues can agree with me that the pandemic, even for this current state that we're in, caused us to do a few things. Number one, we went from being reactive to proactive. And so that has been the linchpin to our success here at Alabama State University. I can remember the first couple of days, I was coming to this campus when we had dismissed everyone. And I walked out and I looked across the street. And so while we were trying to get our heads around the pandemic, we didn't know much about testing. Everybody was trying to figure this thing out. But I said to myself that, I'm a person that if I needed to go to the doctor, I could go to the doctor. But when I looked across the street at the housing project that was there, I thought about the individuals that were there. What would they do? What are they doing in this time? And so, I picked up the phone and called our health officer, Dr. Joyce Lloyd Davis. She and her staff and team have been our superstars on this campus. And so what we decided was that we were going to find a way, because even the nurses didn't know how to give tests. But my thought was, Rick, was listen, I want to get my nurses trained on getting the test, but then I want to provide an opportunity for those who may be least among us. And so what we decided to do was form a partnership with the Alabama Department of Health and the Montgomery Housing Authority just to do a walk-up, drive-up testing right across the street. This was before we even opened. But what it launched into was us becoming not only a testing site for the community, for Alabama State University, but also the community at large. And so at Alabama State University, what we required from the very beginning, and again, I have to give so much credit to the faculty, to the staff, to the students for buying into our direction, but that every person that returned to this campus when we came back was going to be tested. And that was done by our own nurses on this campus. And so it grew into us getting all of the technology. So we have every test that's out. We have, and we also have the opportunity to get the PCR tests from the state of Alabama. But that sent us in a direction where we not only provided a service for Alabama State, but we provided a service for this community. And we have been less than 1% since 2020. We're still running less than 1% in positivity on this campus. We're testing students. We have a random system set up. We put together the algorithm where students and faculty staff alike get an email to say, hey, you need to come and be tested, because what we wanted to make sure was that we created our own bubble here at Alabama State University. And so out of that testing, the testing protocols that we provided to the students, the faculty, the staff, the parents, we also became a vaccination site, one of the first in the state, one of the first HBCUs in the state. And we have every vaccination that's out. So we extended what we were doing here at the campus into the community. And so when you talk about vaccinating over 1,300 employees at Hyundai, 1,000 employees for Montgomery Public Schools, we've just began to vaccinate. But all of this is done with the genius and expertise of the individuals that we have on this campus. So I can't stress enough how important it is for everybody to work together in these times and move in the direction, a proper direction. We bought the technology to make sure that we were skimming and scanning temperatures and the temperature check. And yes, we had the health check system as well. But all of these things, and when I tell you, we challenged our students to have virtual events when we decided, and look, we are institutions of higher learning. And as has already been said, COVID is going to be here to stay. And what better place is it for our students to learn how to adjust and adapt to situations that they're going to encounter in the greater society? We've always been a mask mandatory campus. I know for those of you that are in Alabama, remember the governor would never make it mandatory. But I remember sending out a notice when she was lifting the mask mandate and letting them know that she has lifted hers. But as for me and our house, we will continue to wear masks. We also implemented a curfew here on campus for our students, because we know that going out into the community, if you're in a bubble, you go out into the community and you bring those things back. Not only did we implement a curfew, we also implemented sanctions, because listen, folks, we've been doing this for 2 years now. So everybody understands what this is and has to take personal responsibility if we're going to get beyond it. And so putting those sanctions in place for our students, having the mask mandatory, making sure that we have that curfew in place, it has boded well. And matter of fact, I venture to say that I'm the only college on this call that had 2 concerts during COVID. And it was because we used the concerts as a reward for the students who really bought into keeping our campus safe. And so the protocols have been phenomenal, and we just are excited about where we are. And there have been schools. We had someone from LSU come, President Gallot, to kind of see what we were doing, because they just couldn't believe that that was what was happening right here on 915 South Jackson at this, Black historical college, right? So, but God has been good to us, and we're blessed. So thank you.
Thank you so much, I think what I heard from all three presidents is the common denominator of the commitment of the faculty, staff, and the awesome students that we have at our institutions, adhering to the protocols, being safe, wearing masks, and again, following all the protocols that we have at our respective institutions. So I'm going to reserve my last question and use the remaining time to get some questions. I think Dr. Branton is going to assist with reading some of those questions in the chat. And so, Dr. Branton, if you are available, we
Yes.
could ask a few questions in the next 25 minutes that we have available.
Yes, hi, and thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Lisa Bratton. I am an associate professor of history at Tuskegee University, the proud graduate of Howard University, and proud graduate of Atlanta University. And I appreciate the presidents for being here. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedules. So our first question is from Ms. Pirro. And that question is, what are some mechanisms we can put in place for collaborations among our institutions?
So Dr. Gallot, could you respond to that?
Sure. Well, I can tell you one concrete example, and Dr. Ross and I are both members of our institutions are members of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And one of the things that the 12 presidents have done in the SWAC is to coordinate with one another. You know, what are you doing? What are you doing? Making sure that we've been sharing information. And so although the primary purpose of the Southwestern Athletic Conference is obviously for athletics, we've used that opportunity to interact and share information. And that's one example of how we have been coordinating with each other.
Okay.
Any other comment, or we can move to the next question?
Well, definitely, I'd add to that. I think that's a great example because even during the testing, and of course, all of us, our athletic programs have testing protocols in order to participate. We were even able to, for a school that did not have the necessary tests or resources to test a school that was coming to play us here on campus. So I think what happens is that this communication piece that we've talked about, we collaborate more than what you think. We bounce off ideas off of one another and adopt things. You know, there's no stealing in education. I mean, it's there, don't reinvent the wheel. So that's another example of how we help one another.
Absolutely. And that's, I would also have to say there is the uniqueness and camaraderie that exists amongst the HBCUs. So next question, Dr. Branton.
Yes. How do you address changes that need to be made to uphold our legacies and ensure that students are getting new and improved experiences and tangible opportunities?
Well, I'll take a stab at that one.
Fantastic.
We make sure that our faculty are provided with opportunities to do professional development themselves, to experience cutting edge research, instructional tools and qualities and that type thing to increase their skills. And there's always, in education, things are always changing and changing for the better. So we want to make sure that our faculty is able to participate in some of those things. And here again, I can't say enough about the camaraderie of HBCU presidents in particular, and especially during this COVID environment. You know, we were calling each other, communicating with each other, and then when we were able to travel, we also talked about what was going on in our institutions then. So I think we share information and make sure that we are, well, in my case, to make sure that I'm on top of things. So I talk to Dr. Ross and say, what are you doing with this? And he'll share, oh, let me tell you, we did this, we did this, we did that. And so it's good that we are able to do those type things, and there are opportunities that we are. But the main thing is faculty development.
Okay, next question.
No, it's okay. It's going to give someone else a chance to speak if they wanted to.
Sure.
This question is also from Esmail Esfandiary. And the question is, seems like that the political climate is favorable to HBCUs. What strategies can help us get the maximum benefit of that climate for years to come?
Well, we do have two seasoned politicians. So President Ross very quickly, and then our president from Grambling.
Well, listen, just right off the cuff, engage. This is the opportunity. And listen, just quickly, if you look at what happened with the CARES Act, with the funding that we received, if you remember CARES 2, some of us benefited from the debt forgiveness that was in that legislation. I can remember being on a call with Senator Tim Scott early in the year, and that was really a far cry. We were just trying to get an extension on the debt, the debt service that we had through the HBCU Capital Finance Program. We were saying, listen, can you postpone that a little longer? But just in case, can you forgive it like you did when you forgave the debt when Katrina hit? Well, at that time, it was, I don't know if we could do that. But because of the advocacy from presidents, from us reaching out to our contacts in various areas, as you see in that December, I think there were 40 colleges or 44 that benefited, 44 colleges that benefited from that debt forgiveness, but it was because of the engagement and the advocacy.
And I just to add on to that, President Ross, one of the presidents who was really out front in leading the advocacy was Dr. Cynthia Warwick at Stillman. Of course, I got to know Dr. Warwick during her year. She served as interim president here at Grambling. And so she was definitely out front, among presidents long before COVID in seeking congressional support for debt forgiveness. So definitely want to give a shout out to Dr. Warwick for her advocacy and just being an amazing, incredible leader. As far as the political environment, you never burn bridges, and I know that President Ross, former Senator Ross, understands the importance of maintaining those relationships at the Capitol. And look, one thing about it, of course, for those of us in the South, for the most part, we're red states. We've got red legislatures, and the governor's mansion, with the exception of Louisiana, is all Republicans. But that doesn't mean you can't get your business done. I think you have to show yourself to be, a necessary part of the higher education community, and that you add value to not only the students you serve, but to the entire state. So I'm very grateful that our legislative delegation here in Louisiana, our congressional delegation, have all been incredibly supportive. And it is because we will continue to maintain those relationships. Some of us went to the White House during that previous administration. For me, and having spoken to the SGA president, our faculty senate president, and the alumni president, say, hey, we may be going to the White House, and they all supported it, because to have an audience with the president, no matter what party they're in, I think is a necessary part of leadership, no matter how difficult it may be to do it. But it's necessary, and the world is round. Things tend to come around and go around. So as I'll end where President Ross started: engage.
Okay, thank you. Will a hybrid schedule be in continuous play for the fall of 2022, if you know the answer to that yet, if you've made that decision?
Very briefly from each president. Dr. Morris?
We have not made that decision yet.
Well, all of our courses are set up in the event that we need to pivot, but it is certainly our intention to continue face-to-face instruction.
Okay. This
Thank
question,
you,
I'm sorry.
Dr. Brandon. It's good to see you. And listen, of course we hadn't made the decision, but I think that given everything that has gone on, we always have to be, again, proactive rather than reactive. And the things that we have experienced during COVID, some things we want to keep in place because it has benefited the students as well as the faculty and staff. And so I think as decisions are made, you see some form or shape of it as we continue on into the future.
Okay, thank you. As you may have seen on the news in the past couple of days, 13 HBCUs reported bomb threats today and yesterday. Can you comment on this crisis?
Well, the only thing I wanted to do was to make sure that we were prepared in the event that it happened at Tuskegee. So the first thing we did was contact our chief security officer. Are we prepared to this? Do we have protocols for this to make sure that it is in place? And of course, it was in place. And so that's what we were most concerned about. Now, the whys, the reasons and all of that is not a concern of ours right now. We just want to make sure that we are prepared to keep our students, faculty, and staff safe.
President Gallot?
And, you know, we were unfortunately 3 years ago part of a group of HBCUs that were subjected to unfounded threats, but you take them all seriously, and it's good to have those protocols in place. I'm very grateful for our local, state, and federal partners who have been very closely monitoring all of this and have actually been here on campus doing some preventive sweeps and things. So, you know, we certainly, you know, will keep our colleagues in prayer as they, you know, have to navigate through, you know, this, you know, it's just unfortunate that this is happening, but we will forever, you know, have to be vigilant and be prepared in the event that it impacts our respective campuses.
I agree with both of my colleagues, and I have to give a special shout out to our Director of Public Safety here, Director Kelvin Kendrick. Like President Gallot, our state, local, and federal agencies have been truly engaged here on campus. We've had the like of coming, you know, sometimes you see the dogs around, don't know what's going on, but they're here doing a job. And so it's us staying vigilant. Matter of fact, before getting on this call, we sent out a message to the campus, because initially it was, you know, just a few schools, and now the schools are going up. So to keep the campus informed, and as we always say, if you see something, say something. And so it's important for all of us to make sure that we're vigilant. So we're in prayer for everyone who's experiencing this at this time.
Absolutely, thank you. What lessons have we learned to guide us in the future of our great institutions? This question is from Mr. Guy Trammell.
President Gallot, you can have this one first.
You know, lessons learned, it's better to be prepared than to have to get prepared. And so as we look at again, our technology and all the enhancements we've made, we can't stop there. It's a continuous cycle of investment into the latest and greatest technology. So I think if there's a lesson that's learned, is that, you know, we're investing our money where it's yielding you know, very good results. And so we will continue to, again, lean in and invest in our technology.
President Morris?
Well, I have to agree with my colleague there. We are, lessons are learned every day, and that's what education is about. It's what you do with those lessons that you learn that really makes the difference. So we are continuously learning and continuously advancing to the next level and moving our institution and our students and faculty to the next level as we move along, and getting input from all of those strategic stakeholders as we do that. So we are, COVID has taught us more well, taught me in the leadership role more than anything else, because it was something that was totally unexpected and just came upon us. And there were no, as I said at the beginning, no best practices or anything to refer to. So we really learn lessons when we can't go back and see what others are doing about it. But I think that we take the lessons and we evaluate and we do what's necessary to make sure, as my colleague said, that it doesn't happen again if it's something related to that.
Thank you. This question is from Sister Robin. Were the federal vaccine mandates halted by the Supreme Court?
For clarity, can you repeat the question, Dr. Grantham?
Certainly I can. Were the federal vaccine mandates halted by the Supreme Court? And maybe we can ask that question. Dr. Morris, you've addressed this, but maybe the vaccine mandates on your own campus and what that may look like for your campus.
Okay, I think Attorney James is on the phone. She keeps up with the latest in terms of mandates. Attorney James, are you on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I did respond to that question in the chat, but for further clarification, the Supreme Court did there was a successful challenge to OSHA being an enforcer of that executive order for the mandate. The Supreme Court did say that OSHA was not an appropriate organization to actually enforce that, but it also stated that individual companies, organizations, and institutions could still legally have and enforce vaccine mandates. And so while OSHA can no longer provide sanctions or fines, which were in the original order based upon failure to have vaccine mandates, institutions could and legally continue to have them on their campus.
Thank you very much, Attorney James. Thank you for clarifying that for us. It's very helpful. This question is directed to Presidents Ross and Gallot. How does your institution support your staff and faculty financially, emotionally, and academically during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, we already had in place support for our faculty in terms of faculty development. One of the things that we learned during this entire process has been the generosity of our community. So we've had a number of our local providers who have offered counseling and mental health counseling services free of charge for our faculty. And one of our alums who runs a mental health facility made those services available to them. We have been, very flexible in our telework options for our faculty and staff. Those who, care for elderly parents or children with special needs. We've certainly attempted to meet them where they are throughout this entire process. So, I will have to say again that our campus community really coalesced around one another and have been so incredibly supportive in so many ways to help us to get through through this this very, very challenging time.
President Ross?
Yes, and like President Gallo, we had a telework and staggered schedule agreement with our faculty and staff. And that was because, we had so many things going on, not only with our public schools, with people who were caring for individuals. So this gave us an opportunity to kind of work through those issues. As a matter of fact, our staff just returned to campus fully in August of last year. So we were extremely generous in that way. In terms of the fiscal part, a lot of colleges were working on plans in the event that they did not have the funding. Some had to do layoffs and things of that nature. But because of our fiscal conservativeness on campus and things that we have been working through prior to the pandemic, nobody missed a paycheck, period. Everybody was continued to be paid. And so we're extremely proud of that. In terms of our mental health office here on campus was extended to our campus community, as well as those within the community. And so again, us all working together, all of it was a combination of us being able to move forward during this time.
So thank you so much. As we begin to close this very enlightening session, I'd like to invite and ask that each president give a 2-minute closing remarks. It could be lessons learned. It could be where do we go from here, and sharing that with all those that are on the call and within our community. So let's begin with President Morris.
You're on mute, President Morris.
We've talked about some of the lessons learned, and so I won't repeat those. But one of the things that we have not talked about that became very clear as we dealt with this was the mental health issue of our students, faculty, and staff. So we once, that came to our attention. I think someone on the executive staff brought it up. And so we decided that we would have programmed into our schedule some mental health activities and mental health days for our students. And it worked so well with them. And so I think as we learn things and as we work together, and that's the important phrase, work together to move our institutions forward, then as we learn about things, then we try and implement strategies to improve that or try to mitigate that. Works well for us.
President Ross?
Well, again, I want to thank you all for this opportunity. It's always great to be with my colleagues, and you learn so much and to really engage an audience. But when you think about lessons learned, and I tell people this every day, the one thing that we did learn from the pandemic is that we need each other. We need each other. The pandemic sent us in places that we've never been before, but we need each other. I need that game against Grambling. I need that game against Tuskegee, right? We did determine that we need each other. The other thing is that we have to continue to lean forward, to be vigilant in this, in this circumstance, as we've always done. Our histories are rich to show that we have always been resilient and always led from the front in times of crisis. And so I'm just thankful to have such a broad network of individuals who are so skilled and learned to learn from. And I'm thankful for the faculty, staff, and the students that we engage on a daily basis, because we truly set the standard. We are elite institutions of higher learning that continue to punch above our weight.
Absolutely. President Gallot.
So let me say that there were a lot of lessons learned, way more than I have time to say now. I will say it was reaffirming that, the quiet time that I spent about 5 a.m. every morning talking to my creator has certainly helped to sustain me throughout this entire process, and also really focusing on, why. I mean, we know the what that we do as presidents and as institutions, but why? Why do we do this? We do this for our students. And so when you understand your why, then I think it helps to make your what more impactful and more meaningful. And so that's why we've been flexible as a faculty and as a staff and food service and everyone else to provide housing. One of the things that was just incredibly reassuring in our decision to open the campus last fall was a student who came and said, Prez, I'm just so thankful to be back here on campus because my family was living in a motel. And by being able to come back to campus and to know that I have a cafeteria I can go get meals from every day, this is more solid, of an existence than I had back with my family. And so again, it let me know we were doing the right thing because we were there for our students when they needed us the most. So I'm thankful to be in a position, and I know I speak for my colleagues when I say we're all very grateful to be given the opportunity to be there for our students, and we'll continue to be there for them going forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, presidents, for sharing your insight and the great things that are happening on your campus in the midst of this COVID virus. As we end this session, there were, at the beginning, there were an announcement of a couple of birthdays. And so I want to turn it over to those that are who have organized this event and also share the upcoming events for Black History Month lecture series and share that with everyone on the call. And hopefully you will participate in those upcoming events as well. I see our Mayor Haygood is here. And